Are you ready to take your life to new heights? I'm Erica, host of the Elevate with Erica podcast. This podcast isn't just about listening. I get real with y'all. Stories from my past, things I'm currently going through, good, bad, and all the in-between, so that we can take action together and step into our power. From mindset shifts to practical tips, we cover it all. So whether you're struggling with self-doubt, seeking clarity, or simply hungry for inspiration, Elevate with Erica is going to be your go-to resource. So if you're ready to break free from limitations, ignite your passions, and create a life you love, then hit that subscribe button and join my community of dreamers, doers, and difference makers. Together, let's elevate. Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Erica. So today we're going to be talking about joy and chaos. I know that I've had a few episodes on this in the past. I've really been talking about this more over the course of the past year because it's something I've worked really hard to do. I'm pretty proud of the progress that I've made in it. I'm still working on it. And I think that it's something that can benefit all of us because, we're always all going through something that somebody doesn't know anything about, right? We're always battling something. And in the past, I've had this mentality of, like the first 2 hours, if they're bad of my day, even if the first 2 hours are bad, then it's like I write off the rest of the day. This is just a bad day. And I take that mentality into the rest of my day and I make sure that it ends up a bad day, right? With the energy and the attitude that I'm bringing to every situation going forward, right? So today we're going to talk about embracing small joys in our day, ones that sometimes get clouded over by the challenges of, for example, what can happen in the first 2 hours of a day, and the mindset shifts that you can make from reflective journaling. And I don't want to lose you here because if you're not a journal person, I just want to point out that I actually didn't even start journaling till very recently. If you're not a journal person, though, you're going to want to stay tuned because even if you don't do this pen to paper, which I now do believe is superior, you're still going to benefit greatly from asking yourself a very simple question at the end of the day. So as many of you already know, I self-published my first guided journal on August 23rd, and I'm so grateful for those of you who have grabbed your copy or shared my launch post to your own social media, or just sent me well wishes. It really means so much to me. There's so many ways to support a small business besides just purchasing from them. Those that did purchase, though, you've started to receive your journals this week, and you've been sharing and tagging me, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I appreciate your trust in me as well. So I can't wait to hear the wins that you make with this journal as it becomes a daily practice for you. The prompts in it are really simple. It's not going to consume a lot of your time, and it's going to be super impactful. That was important to me. That is basically the requirements for any mental and physical health habit I try to integrate into my life because that's what I'm personally going to consistently commit to. I know myself. So one of my favorite parts of the driver's seat journal, and by the way, I was going to say my favorite part, but then I remembered all the other parts in the journal that I love. So one of my favorite parts is the evening reflection prompts that I actually complete in the morning the next day. I'm not an evening journaler. Like I've tried to create this habit. I'm like, okay, I'll get the pretty journal. I'm going to sit it by my bed with a nice pen. I'm like a geek when it comes to pens. I'll do that. And that's going to make me journal every night before bed. Absolutely not. By the time I've got the kids to bed, my husband and I have finished up our favorite show. I'm lucky if I read 5 minutes of my book before my eyes are rolling back in my head. So it's just not the right time for me. It's not going to happen. Maybe one day when I'm, not exhausted from momming, I don't know, but that doesn't work for me personally. So it is still listed in the driver's seat journal as evening reflection. But in all honesty, I fill it out the next morning before I begin the new daily elevation for the next day. So, but that's one of my favorite parts is that evening reflection prompt. So basically what it is a prompts that are requiring you to reflect back on your day. So what you need to understand about the driver's seat journal is that number one, this isn't just any journal. This isn't about logging your day, but it's about transforming yourself, mind, and life. Just like lifting weights transforms your body, repetitive actions to shift your mindset will transform your mind. It's almost magical. It's going to change the way that you think, your thought processes, and eliminate ways of thinking that don't serve you today and the direction that you want to take into your life. What is one of the things I heard recently? I'm going to totally botch this probably, but your experiences create your perceptions. Your perceptions create your beliefs, and your beliefs are going to create what you see. Okay. So we have to kind of go all the way back to the experiences that we've had in life that created perceptions and beliefs about people and experiences that aren't serving us today because they're causing us to only see things that then are not serving us today in the direction that we want to go with our life. So, in the reflection piece of this journal, I ask you, what were your best moments from the day? In the past 12 months, it really helped me to see that joy and chaos could coexist in my life during a challenging time. Okay, so it's shifted the way that I view my life as a whole in a chaotic season. This bad season doesn't mean that I have a bad life, right? So as I was going through this challenging time in my life that I found all consuming, I didn't know how to process it. I still wanted to show up as the mom that I aspired to be. And I was having a hard time figuring out how to do that because so much of my life was in chaos. I was carrying a really heavy, hard heartbreak that is still hard for me to talk about today without feeling emotional. Um, and I was carrying that new, fresh heartbreak at the time. So much of my life was chaos. So much of my future felt unknown. And then I'm supposed to be like this smiling mom creating positive experiences and memories with my boys, right? And giving them my ear and my attention as they're going to school and then coming home and telling me about their day. So this reflection part of the journal allowed me to see, right? Because I'm starting to change my perceptions here, which are changing my beliefs. I had to start believing that joy and chaos could coexist in my life at the same time. So this reflection piece helped me to start seeing the small joys that were getting clouded by the bad experiences that I was having, am still having in this extended challenging season, right? So if you lift weights, I want you to think about this comparison. And even if you don't, you're going to understand the concept that I'm trying to present here. Okay. So when you're lifting weights and you're able to bump up just 5 pounds in an exercise, right? It's like when you go grab those dumbbells off the rack and you're not even sure you're going to be able to complete the reps in that set with this heavier set of weights, but you're going to try, right? Like you've talked yourself into it, or the trainer has, or your friends over there lifting heavier, you want to try it, right? So you're picking up these heavier dumbbells off the rack and you're going to see if you can do it, right? What feels amazing is when you shock yourself and you like power through that particular weight set that you picked up, right? When you're just like, oh yeah, I got this with confidence. Like, yeah, I can do this. It feels so good to have that bump up in weights when you work out and you get to feel the strength gains that you've made. Way better than any number on the scale, in my opinion, right? So that's how I can relate what happened to me after using this evening reflection prompt from the driver's seat journal, which I intentionally put in there because it was helping me create joy in a chaotic season. And I knew that it was going to have an impactful experience on my life. And that's how every single prompt is in the driver's seat journal, by the way. I knew if it was going to be impactful in my life, that it was going to have a big impact in others. So every single prompt is like pulled from different things that I researched and tried myself. And then they came together. So there's nothing like the driver's seat journal. It's something that I created through my own experience in the hardest season of my life, right? So that bump up in metal and that bump up in weights is very similar to the bump up that I felt in my mind with this practice over repetition. Okay, so let me tell you about a really tough day that I had. So it was on Wednesday of this week. So it was Wednesday, August 28th. I had a really mentally tough day. I was just not in a good place. I was an emotional mess. Many factors played a part in that. Some things that I'm not able to share about, some things just the challenges of co-parenting and navigating that and feeling like you're missing out on milestones with your kids. For example, I have a high schooler, so his first day is next Tuesday. And knowing that I won't have him for his first 2 days of school to drop off is very challenging for me. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. That is my baby, my firstborn. And so that is hard for me. And like they had a lot of back to school stuff on Wednesday. And I think it just made it all real. And it was emotionally messy. It really was. There was no denying that. I allowed myself to feel the emotions. I cried. Bear with me for a minute because I'm going to be real. I cried. I literally screamed out loud in my home. I prayed. I cried. I prayed. I screamed. I did a whole cycle, right? And thankfully, by the way, 60 seconds after I did that emotional release, that was when the USPS guy came knocking on the door to deliver a package. So, because if he had come 60 seconds earlier, he may have called the police. But anyways, so I had to do that. And then I found solace in some work that fills my cup. I just buried myself in work. Thankfully, my work is doing things that I actually really love to do. And then I had an unconscious thought with me. All right. And here is that mental bump up that I was comparing to that feeling when you can bump up in dumbbells, right? I asked myself unconsciously, what are my favorite moments from this day going to be? I asked myself that in the middle of doing some work that I love, transitioning between tasks, right? We always think of all these crazy things. In the past, my mind would have been like, this is such a crappy day. I can't wait for this to be over. When is bedtime? I need a giant glass of wine. Like I would have wrote off the day already. And I would have made sure that the rest of the day sucked too, right? Because I would have taken my crappy attitude into it. But instead of those thoughts, my mind said, what are going to be your favorite moments from this day? Insert mind blown emoji. Okay. That is the first time when I've seen the repetition of going through these prompts in the driver's seat journal pay off in actually changing my thought processes. Like, how much more powerful does that make me? Right. And that's what's possible for you. I want you to see the power of these simple prompts. Even if you don't journal, maybe you're asking yourself this at the end of every day. Maybe you're closing your eyes and you're really digging for the best parts. And maybe the best part is just that Dunkin' Donuts came out with their pumpkin latte and you're going to go get one, right? Whatever. Like maybe it's that small. Maybe it's that you got a raise, right? But when I asked myself that question, while I didn't have any yet up to that point, and it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my mind was like, okay, but you've still got a few hours to make this day good. You've still got a few hours to inject some small good moments up in here. This day is not a waste, right? Maybe some things don't feel so good. Maybe some things aren't going your way. You're navigating some hard stuff, but you can inject some joy in this day. Here's your permission to allow joy and chaos to coexist. And I love that that was my thought, because I know what my thought process would have been in the old me without these prompts in my life, right? So it prevented me from labeling the day as entirely bad and instead allowed me to find joy. And I knew in that moment, I know what my favorite moments are from today are going to be, because my husband's not home from work yet. And when he gets home, we are going to enjoy a great dinner. We're going to make a delicious cocktail, and we're going to snuggle on the couch and watch a show. And that's what I'm going to write down tomorrow morning when I reflect back on this day. And that's what's going to stand out about this day, not that other crap. And then let me tell you an extension of that. When I woke up the next morning, pulled out my driver's seat journal, got to the reflection that I fill out in the morning on the day prior, I wrote down exactly what I told you I would, because I made sure that was going to happen that night, regardless of how my day went. And what that then does is then I move into looking at the next day. I'm looking at the day in front of me. I'm setting my attentions during my morning routine, and I'm not taking in the negative energy from yesterday, because that's not what stood out to me. What stood out to me is what I just did, pen to paper. What stood out to me is what I was looking for, what I see, because I believe that joy and chaos can coexist at the same time. So what I see is my joy, right? And so it became so much easier to be like, you know what? That crap was yesterday. Those emotions were yesterday. So Wednesday didn't carry into Thursday. And today's Friday, by the way. I had such an amazing day yesterday. Let me tell you, totally different from Wednesday, because I left that crap there. It didn't have to come with me. It served no purpose in Thursday, right? I was focused on a new day and the few good things that happened the day before. So I hope that you can recognize the impact, just these little prompts that seem insignificant. I want you to realize the impact that they can have over your whole life and how you show up for yourself, even, right? Because sometimes we're our own worst critics. A bad season quickly in our mind says we have a bad life. A bad day at work quickly in our mind becomes, this job sucks. Then we dread going to work the next day, right? It changes the way you show up for yourself. And then it changes the way you show up for your family, for your friends, for your community. It's changing the energy. These prompts changed the energy that I brought into my day on Thursday. First thing in the morning, I had to get up super early Thursday, the day after my bad day. I had to get up super early Thursday because it was my son's freshman orientation at his high school. And I really wanted to be there for that. And I wanted to be there fully present and happy and excited. I wanted him to feel my excitement, because I want him to be excited and not nervous for what he's about to walk into, right? So because of these prompts, I was able to shift the energy, not carry my baggage from Wednesday into that experience with him on Thursday morning. How awesome is that? Like, that makes me so grateful for this journal, because that is a huge gift. That's a core memory for the both of us, right? So imagine how this can also affect you in your situation in your life. Even just a simple question to yourself at the end of the day, even if you don't grab this journal, a simple question of yourself to yourself at the end of the day that says, what were my best moments from today? You may realize, you know what? I didn't create any. I let a bad morning become a bad day, become the thought that I have a bad life, right? So maybe you instead, at the end of the day, when you start this process, you're calling yourself out. Hey, I think that's great. I think that's where growth happens. I think that's where change happens. Call yourself out, because then you know what you're going to do. The next day, you're going to be like, okay, what can I do what am I going to write down for my moments today? Like, what can I do? I got to inject some kind of joy, and don't underestimate what those small things, like cuddling, watching a show with my husband for 1 hour. Don't underestimate how that can shift your entire mood and your energy going into the next day, right? Too often we celebrate physical gains only, but the real transformation happens My real transformation in my 8.5 year health and wellness journey is not the workouts that I'm sharing every day on my social media. It didn't come from that. The real transformation happened in my mind, in my mind. Because the transformation has to happen in your mind before you're ever going to create any kind of consistent habit. You have to believe that you can. And in order to be consistent, it means that you're showing up on the days when you don't want to. And that is all mental, because I have not felt like working out for 8.5 years. There was many days when I didn't want to, right? But I've trained my mind to overcome that. That to me, that's the real win, when you win the war in your mind, right? So I want you to think about some thought patterns that you might have today that are holding you back. What are they? And maybe in order for you to do this, like maybe this is the start of your personal development, mental strength building journey. So maybe at the beginning, you're going to need to instead be very observant of yourself for the next 1 to 3 day period. Carry a little journal with you. And every time you catch yourself in a negative thought pattern, whether it be about yourself or an experience you're having or about your life or about a relationship that you have, I want you to just write it down, right? And then look at it after observing it for a few days and see where the patterns are. Like what happened that sent you down that negative road to what you ended up writing down? What led up to that? Because that experience that led up to those negative thought patterns is what needs our attention, right? Because the experience is leading to thought patterns that are not serving us. And that's where you're going to uncover where, when you catch yourself in those situations next time, when you catch yourself in those experiences next time, what can you ask yourself so that you don't go down that dark road of negativity and bring this black cloud over your entire life because of a bad experience, right? Replacing thoughts that no longer serve your highest good is going to lead to profound life changes. And there's so many other prompts in the driver's seat journal. This is just one experience of where I finally got to see the work from all the reps I've been putting in, right? I've been filling that thing out every single day, longer than you guys have, because I created it. So I've had it a little bit longer. I've been putting them reps in, reps in, reps in. I picked up my heavier dumbbell on Wednesday and it felt so good. And all the other prompts in there are going to affect my life the same way. It's going to change my thought processes. It's going to change my perceptions, my beliefs, and what I'm looking for in every day. Just because the day is bad, it doesn't mean that you can't put some good in it. You're allowed. The gains in your mind will change your life. The dumbbells, the cycle bike might give you some abs, but the gains in your mind are going to change your life. So I encourage you guys to grab your copy of the journal, of the driver's seat journal, and start experiencing the benefits for yourself. That's the part I'm really the most excited for. I love seeing people purchase the journal and tagging me. Please continue to do so with your journal and your excited faces. I love that. But I'm actually more excited to start hearing your wins like the one that I shared today. So for those of you who don't have the journal, I also just invite you guys to reflect on your favorite moments from each day. Just start trying to ask yourself that every night, like maybe set a reminder in your phone so that you start getting in the habit of it if you don't have the journal copy, and start to see how just this, even this small question, even this small practice will change your mindset and your life, right? All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. Go leave a rating and review. Don't underestimate the power that it has on getting more eyes on this show by just taking a moment to share this episode to your social media. If you know someone else who needs to hear it or would benefit from this, share it with a friend. I so appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and continue to elevate your lives by looking for ways to grow. And I know that you're doing that because you're here, you're listening to Elevate with Erica. Continue to embrace change and continue to find joy in the chaos. Until next episode, friends. E.